We're here with Justin Erickson, City Manager of Shawnee. And Justin, it's always great to be able to sit down and talk with you.
I appreciate this opportunity. It's always great to have this chance.
Well, just about a week ago, the City Commission came together out at the Expo Center, and it's kind of a different kind of meeting. They call it a retreat, and we're here to talk about what they talked about. Give us some insights.
Excellent. Well, at that retreat, the City Commission had a variety of topics that they discussed, and this occurred over a period of approximately 4 hours. And that type of setting, and we call that a retreat or a workshop, and that is kind of a drastic departure from a typical City Commission meeting that is very structured and very organized. With this format, what it allows us to do is to have a kind of a free-ranging discussion on a variety of topics, and no actual decisions are made. It's simply an opportunity to get feedback and to get a semblance of consensus and direction so that staff can move forward in implementing their wishes in a timely manner.
And in that kind of forum, I know, as you say, it's open. Many things are discussed, but we have a few to talk about today. Property issues that the city is facing with potential income or ways in which the property can affect Shawnee. So talk about those a little bit.
Well, the city owns 2 pieces of property, and there's been ongoing discussion about what to do with that property, whether or not to retain it or dispose of it in some manner. Those pieces of property are the former CVB property that was purchased for a tourism visitor center, and the second piece is the regional park property, the 160 acres that was purchased several years ago when the commission was considering a large multi-purpose athletic facility.
Those both, of course, north of town. The CVB property, why is it not going to be utilized?
Well, at the time that was purchased, it was contemplated that a standalone visitor center would be a feature that would be applicable to Shawnee, and in time that organization now has changed to Visit Shawnee Incorporated, and they are going to be co-housed with the Chamber of Commerce and remain downtown. And the city has that property, and because it was purchased with tourism money, if it was to be sold, those funds would have to be used for a very specific tourism-related purpose.
Okay, and then the park property, where exactly is it located and what are the potential uses for that?
That park property is located on West Tech Road, which is just northwest of Shawnee Mall. It is a kind of a semi-rural area at present. It is a gravel road and there's limited services, but that property is, as I mentioned earlier, is 160 acres, has a lot of opportunities, and kind of the challenge there is to determine what the city vision is long-term with that property. To do a massive sports complex will take a substantial amount of money, and we do not at present have the available funding. In order to do a project of that scale, we would have to get voter-approved funding of some sort. And absent the will to go forward with that type of project, it may be best to either sell all or part of the property.
What was your feeling coming out of the retreat of the commissioner's views on those 2 properties?
I think the commission is fairly comfortable selling the tourism property. Since the visitor center is no longer an option, it would make good sense to dispose of that property and use those funds for a tourism-related purpose, such as improvements at the expo facility. With the second piece of property, the regional park property, I don't at this time have a good feeling for a consensus. I think there are some commissioners that would like to retain the property for future use, even if that use may be 5 or 10 years down the road, and there are some that would like to sell the property and use those funds to improve other existing park locations.
Okay, so that's to be continued.
Yes, that is definitely to be continued.
Water and sewer issues, always at top of mind for citizens and, of course, for the commission. Those were talked about.
Those were talked about, and the discussion at the retreat centered around modest increases in water and sewer rates. And what I mean by modest increases is over time, of course, material costs can go up. The fees that we are subject to by contractors for work that we contract out go up, and personnel costs generally rise over time as well. And so the city of Shawnee went through a period historically where we did not raise water and sewer rates for many years, and a few years ago rates consequently had to be raised drastically, and it did definitely impact people. What we want to do is avoid those drastic rate increases and instead look at modest 2 to 3% increases per year, so that there's not a one-time massive shock to residents.
A master plan with the water system has been delivered and reviewed by the commission. Where do we stand as far as the master plan and as far as our water supplies go into the future?
Excellent question. The good news is that through that master planning process, we've determined conclusively that we have a good, adequate supply of water for a long period of time, at least 50 years. That's the good news. The challenging news is that we have an aging infrastructure system, and so we do have to still put substantial money into our existing water and sewer infrastructure, which also includes the water treatment plant and the 2 sewage treatment plants.
So into the future, the citizens may experience a little bit of a rate change, is what I'm hearing?
They may. No decision has been made at this time. I think the soonest anything would go into effect would be early 2017.
What about hotel motel tax? That generates a lot of revenue for the city for specific purposes, as I understand. Can you talk a little bit about what the commission discussed?
Be happy to talk about that. The commission discussed our existing hotel motel tax, which is set in the city limits at 5%. And so anytime any individual stays at a hotel or motel or lodging property in the city, that tax is added to their bill. And that money, under statute, is limited in terms of how the city can spend it. It has to be used for a tourism-related activity. And at present, the majority of those funds go to Visit Shawnee Incorporated. And that organization helps market the city, promote activities and events, and that draw visitors and build a community here in Shawnee.
And that tax then has very little effect on residents as far as paying the tax. I understand that.
That's correct. Obviously, since residents here are probably very seldomly staying in local lodging properties, they may have guests that come in and may stay there. But that is a tax that is really almost 100% paid for by outside visitors coming into the community and staying in the community for a reasonably short period of time.
Something very important for residents, though, is our fire protection. We've been having trouble with some of our fire stations, and that's a big issue right now under consideration, is it not?
It is, and that was discussed extensively at the retreat, and specifically a detailed discussion was had regarding fire station number 2 on Bryan Street. That station has been shut down for about 6 months while we've evaluated that structure and reviewed options going forward to get that back in operation. And I think at the retreat there was a clear consensus that we needed to move diligently at getting that station back open, but also make sure that the work is done right and that this station is fixed in a permanent manner so that it operates long-term for the city and for the citizens for decades to come.
Well, that's one of a number of fire stations in town. Why is it so important that we have that fire station? That
station is located in a part of town and in a service area where, absent that station, if there are calls for service in that area, and there's also some kind of high-profile facilities. For example, we have a retirement community nearby. We have a nursing facility nearby. We also have several schools. So, absent that facility, response times will be increased substantially without it. And so by putting that facility back in operation, we can ensure a very short response time to homes and businesses and even the surrounding rural areas that we serve, even outside of city limits that we serve east of there. With a station that size, housing so many firemen on an overnight basis, are we at all in jeopardy as residents as far as fire danger goes? Meaning, do we have firemen that don't have a place to stay? A good question. What we've done in an interim basis is we've actually rehabilitated the old fire station on East Main Street. That's located east of Harrison Street and west of Bryan. And what we have there is a small station that was important historically to the department, but it's been inoperational for a number of years. And so we have done some limited remodeling to that facility, and now we have at least 2 firefighters stationed there around the clock. We've talked about the water master plan. What about the overall master plan for the city? Where are we headed? What's our direction? Well, with the overall master plan, that really is considered in kind of 2 different ways. We have a comprehensive land use plan, which was last updated in 2005. And that's a very common planning document that you're going to find in most cities. And that lays out kind of the vision for the city and where and how we see growth occurring. And it includes goals and objectives and different priorities and covers a variety of topics. And then kind of the next level of detail beyond that is a detailed CIP or capital improvement plan or program. And with that CIP, we do have those plans in place for some departments. So for example, you mentioned the master planning process that we had done with the Shawnee Municipal Authority. And other departments, we have similar documents. But what we don't have yet is kind of a comprehensive way to bring all of those needs together and show it and have it be reflected in a way that's discernible by the public and by the City Commission, so that they can clearly tell what the long-term needs are, and so that we can analyze where we're deficient with long-term funding. So over the next year, we really hope to bring all of the various pieces together under one comprehensive document.
Having a document like that seems that it would be important for even new people coming on to the commission. Is that something that's under consideration, in the sense that we have elections coming up? New people always are coming onto the commission. Is that something that not only would help us, but would help new commissioners?
It absolutely would, and we want to be able to provide that information to new commissioners and to the public, so it's really clear where we're currently spending our resources and our time and our money, and also what our long-term needs are. And if there's a situation where there's a long-term need and yet we don't have an identified funding source, then we really have to talk about that seriously and look at different funding options for some of these things that are very much needed and very much desired by the community.
Coming out of the retreat as city manager, what was your overall take on the health of the city and the outlook for the future?
The good news is that the city's long-term future, I think, is reasonably secure. We are, despite some economic headwinds in the state of Oklahoma, locally here, we are still doing well. As citizens drive around, I'm sure they encounter new businesses and new commercial growth. We have new residential subdivisions. We have some expansions that are going to occur now in the school system. So there's a lot of positive things happening in the community.
Justin, as always, it's a pleasure to talk with you, and thank you for giving us a little bit of time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.